Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Faden, and I'm so grateful that we get to spend this time together. We're going to be talking about a topic that I hope you really get a lot of inspiration from: how to go from having a good life to a miraculous life. But before we do that, let's take a few deep breaths together. Breathing in the energy of expansion, breathing out anything you no longer need. As always, if you're driving, please keep your eyes on the road, but you can always bring your awareness to your breath. And as you let yourself settle into this time together, bringing your body, your mind, your spirit all into this present moment, letting your body be relaxed, letting your mind be calm, letting your heart be open and truly receptive. Knowing that whatever it is that you need to hear today to help you magnify your miracles is exactly what you're going to hear. So let's take one more deep breath together in gratitude, and we can begin. All right, my friend, well, welcome back. And this is a topic I'm so excited to share with you because I talk about it with my clients all the time. And I realize that you might not know what this is and what my thoughts are on it and how it can apply to you and really help you to magnify your miracles. So, there was a book out a while ago, 10 years ago, might even be 15 years ago now, that was called From Good to Great. And it was all about how companies go from doing okay, they're doing good, to how do they become great companies. And even though I'm not going to be talking about that book, I am talking about this concept of how is it that we go from a life that's good to a life that's miraculous? How do we do that? And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the pitfalls that happen that I see. I've seen it with myself. I've seen it in my own struggles. I've seen it with my clients. I've seen it in family members. It just seems to be a very common thing. And you might even be struggling with this right now. So I wanted to make sure that I did a podcast episode on this topic so that I could support you and help you wherever you are in your journey. Well, let's talk about this. So if you're like me, you probably have, or you come from a family where just getting to having a good life, whatever good is for you, was a big deal. So you might have parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, people that you've known in the not so distant past who maybe they're brand new to the country that you're living in. Maybe they're, like for me, I live in the United States. Maybe you have people who left a country and came to a new country. Why? Because they were wanting a better life. That's what we hear people saying all the time, is they're coming looking to make things better. And they usually had to go through a lot to be able to go from that entry level of just kind of being here and being an immigrant and working up the ranks or whatever it might have been, just to get to the point where they have some stability. And for many of them to have some safety. Safety and stability kind of go hand in hand. And having that after not having had it for so long, or if ever, maybe they come from a country that's been this way for a long time. The advice is do not rock the boat. And so for me, I'll share with you, my mom had me later in her life. So she actually grew up in the Depression time. And her parents, my grandparents, right off the boat from Italy. So my mom had two things working kind of against her. One was her parents both had that immigrant, trying to work your way up, just create some sense of stability and some safety. And then wham, they were dealing with the Depression and lack of resources and stuff like that. And so then that really became like, hold on to what you have. Like you got to hold on to what you have because you never know what's coming down the pike. Now, she didn't mean to transfer those beliefs to me, but I grew up with somebody who had those beliefs. And you probably have heard people and your own parents or whatever it might be, grandparents telling you, go to school, get a good job, and stay there. And that's the advice, right? Just get a good job and just stay in that job. Well, we know over the last 20 years that advice, it doesn't really apply anymore. It's very rare. It may happen, but it's very rare that people get a job out of high school, out of college, and then that's the only job that they have. Most people go through several different job changes, if not career changes, throughout their life. And the previous generation scratch their head. They're like, I don't understand this. This is not what they would recommend that we do. But it is for us to take a look at the fact that our culture is permeated with what I call kind of a middle class consciousness. And one of my coaches talks about this a lot. He used to say, one of the greatest challenges as an entrepreneur is to break out of middle class consciousness. Now, this isn't just about how much money you're making. Middle class consciousness is exactly what I'm saying. We've crawled out of that lack of safety and security. We've crawled out of scarcity. It could be through education. It could be through hard work, whatever that might be. And now we have like just enough. We have a house, or we have a home, or whatever it might be. Whatever that middle class, like, we're here. And then the challenge comes when the people who achieve that have their own kids, and the next generation comes, and you're already born into that energy of your life is good. Who's going to help you go from good to the next thing? There's usually nobody around. Our society as a whole is going to say, stay safe. Our society as a whole is going to say, don't change anything, don't rock the boat. We have a very middle class mentality here in the West, very much like keep it this way. Now, perhaps you grew up in a different environment, and even if you did, the majority of the energy in the country is still very risk adverse. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and take risks. What I am saying is that the pathway from good, like my life is good, to having a life that's miraculous, it's not so obvious. And your biggest obstacle is going to be you. You are going to be your biggest obstacle, because you're going to hear your parents or your grandparents in your head. You're going to hear your teachers in school. You're going to hear what's going on in the news. And you're going to have that voice that's going to say to you, don't rock the boat. And this is where a lot of people get stuck when they're trying to do what I call your sacred life purpose. Your sacred life purpose is not about having a life that's good. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong to having a good life. A good life is a beautiful thing. But if you have something inside of you that keeps gnawing at you like, yeah, this is good, but I feel like there's something more. I feel like there's something more. You're going to have to overcome some of those voices that are going to tell you, isn't this enough? You shouldn't want more. Why aren't you happy with what you have? Whatever those, it's kind of selfish to think these things. Whatever those voices are, it's the voices of our culture that you've internalized. And so the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do, I'm going to put my little coach's hat on, and I'm going to take you through a process that I do with my own clients, is I want you to get clear about what a miraculous life is for you. Now, I use the word miraculous because that's my aspiration. I actually have a really good life. I'm very, very blessed. It took me a lot of work and a lot of choices to get here, but I made choices along the way with that miraculous life in mind. I wanted to be able to work with people who are all over the world. I now have a practice where I'm working with people who are all over the world. I wanted to be able to work with people remotely and not have to be only face to face. And thank God I made that choice way back when, because during the pandemic, I've been actually doing well and my business is actually expanding. And I'm really grateful for that. So I have a lot of things in my life that are these huge, huge blessings. And I get it. My life is good. But I have something inside of me that's like, what if it could be miraculous? What if you were able to experience miracles on a daily basis? This is part of the reason why I created this podcast, to help you magnify your miracles. It helps me magnify my miracles. It helps me to be in the energy of miracles, of like what it says right here, anything is possible. It reminds me that anything is possible, and that we all are divine beings. Yes, we love our families and our heritage and our ancestors, but our real ancestors is the divine, where all things are possible. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is take a look at what would life be like for you if it was miraculous? What would it be like? And then what would need to happen for you? What would you need to let go of for that beautiful, miraculous life to unfold for you? Now, these are not easy questions. This is why I always am recommending to you that you work with a coach, you work with a spiritual person, you work with somebody who can take you through this process, because normally what's going to come up is a lot of fear. And I tell my clients, like, I have some beautiful clients right now who, again, they have a beautiful life, but they're wanting more meaning. They're wanting more fulfillment. And some of them are trying to do it in the little box that they're in. Like, if I just examine every corner of this box, I know I'll find fulfillment. But fulfillment isn't in the box. And there's not a lot of people who are going to encourage you to go for the amazing thing, to go for the miraculous thing, to go for something. Most people are going to say to you, what you have is good. Don't risk losing that. What you have is enough. And this is where you have to tune into your own heart and ask your heart, what's true for me? What's true for me? Because the other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get caught up in somebody else. Like, maybe you're looking at me and saying, hey, I want to do what Francis is doing, but maybe what I'm doing isn't right for you. You don't want to get pulled in that direction either. You have to come back to your own heart's wisdom and to really ask yourself, what would miraculous be for me? And there's no judgment on it, my friend. A miraculous life for you could simply mean that you have excellent health and you get along with your kids. like that could be like, maybe because maybe that's not in your experience right now. And for you, it would be a miracle to wake up feeling energized and to have a great relationship with your children. Maybe that's it. Or you might have a definition of miraculous that it's even hard for you to think about. Like, oh, it would be miraculous for me to, be able to channel, or to be able to finish a book, or to bless, lots of people. The divine isn't judging you and saying, this is a tiny miracle, this is a big. You get to decide for you what a miraculous life is for you. I like to say it's living in the energy of love, light, peace, and joy. That's a miraculous life for me. A miraculous life for me is living in that faith and knowing that I'm always divinely supported and protected, and that everything I'm doing is bringing positive results in my life and positive results out in the world. It's when you get to this place of having a miraculous life, it's a very humbling thing. It is not something that makes you feel puffed up. You start to realize your place in the universe, and not like, oh, I'm just a speck of dust, but you get to see that you are being utilized by the divine as the divine. It's the divine in you. It's not you. It's the divine in you that is working through you, creating this miraculous life through you. Now, another thing you're probably going to run into is, do I deserve a miraculous life? This is a big issue I work on with my own clients. This whole idea of, why would I have a miraculous life when this person doesn't have a miraculous life? What is it in me? Like, can I deserve that? And this is not a small thing. Being able to accept it, is really important. Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you about this is another thing that people don't talk about. When you're going from kind of a iffy life, a life that feels hard, it's really easy to focus on, getting to that place of having a good life. But when you have a good life and you're then moving to having an amazing life, a great life, a miraculous life, there's a grieving process that happens. And nobody talks about it, because we're all thinking, why wouldn't you want to just go to like the next thing? Because it took you a lot to have that good life. part of your identity is wrapped up in life is good. You have not yet stepped into the identity of my life is miraculous. You're going to be a different person living a miraculous life than you were living a good life. And you want to give yourself some grace and some compassion, because on the inside, you might be feeling like, why would I not just go for this? Why am I not just going to be like, come on, let's go, let's make the change? Because it's not just making outer change, it's making inner change. You have to start being comfortable and feeling safe, stepping into that new identity. This is a big piece of the work I do with my own clients. Whatever it is that you're longing for, you have to feel safe enough to have it. If you felt safe, you'd probably have it right now. Those of us that are highly sensitive, this is a big issue for us. And you might think, I'm not walking around telling myself I'm not safe. I'm not mentally doing that. Of course not. But that subconscious mind, that inner child, she's just grateful that you have good. Like she's like, oh, we got to good. Let's keep it there. You have to be able to work with yourself. And this is why it happens over time. And it's even better if you have that guidance to work over time with somebody who can help you step into miraculous. So I'm going to share with you something that happens with my clients. A lot of times they'll send me an email and they'll say, oh my God, Reverend Francis, you'll never believe what happened. I always believe what happened. Oh my God, you'll never believe what happened. Last week, you and I were talking about the fact that, I wanted to have 2 new clients, or I wanted to learn this new whatever it is that they were wanting, because we're always working with the energy of desire. And then out of the blue, these 2 people called me and I just made $10,000 or whatever it might be. And they're all excited. And of course, I congratulate them and I say, congratulations. And then I put in there hashtag new normal. New normal. Your life becomes miraculous when it stops being the exception. Miracles are no longer the exception for you. It's like, yeah, of course I have fabulous new clients. Of course my blood test came back negative. Everything's fine. Of course my health is wonderful. Of course I have more than enough money. Of course. Hashtag new normal, because this is my life now. But you had to work up to that. And so part of the coaching that I do is I want them to be grateful, but I don't want them to see it as something that's completely like unexpected. Part of the work to have a miraculous life is you need to start expecting your life to be miraculous. It takes a lot to undo those little gremlins in your mind that are going to mess with you. But it's like a joke now. I get so many emails saying, oh my God, it came out of the blue. Oh my God. And my job is to remind you, I'm going to treat you like my client right now. My job is to remind you, nothing comes from nowhere. Nothing. It's like, oh, I have no idea where that happened. Yes, you do. It came from you. You did something. Now, I'm not working with you, so I can't tell you what you did. But with my clients, I tell them exactly what they did. We look at what they did over the week, and I said, you did this, you said this prayer, you did this thing, you shifted your energy, and you took care of that. Those are the 4 things you did, and here's the result that you're having. And they're like, you're right. That is what happened. I'm like, yeah, write it down. This is how you become confident as somebody who knows how to magnify her miracles. That's how it works, my friend. It's called feedback from the universe. It is the secret key to going from good to miraculous. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Have you ever had a time in your life where things were good and you were getting ready to go to that next level? And it may have been on the outside, but definitely it was on the inside. How did you step into that new identity? What was that like for you? Do you remember doing it? Or maybe you're at a place right now where you're wanting to go from good to miraculous. If you are, I invite you to have a chat with me. I'd love to offer you a free chat. I call it a miracle meeting. It's an opportunity for us to see if working together would be beneficial for you, whether it would be a fit for me and a fit for you. And it gives us a chance to see, are you really ready to go from good to miraculous? I'll put a link down in the show notes so that if you'd like to do that, you're welcome to do that. So my friend, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope this was a helpful episode for you. I love talking about this topic because I see it unfold before my eyes every day, and the beautiful work that I'm doing with my clients. So amazing to be a witness. I'm so honored to get to be a witness to it. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it. It would help me out so much if you could leave a review, tell your friends about it, share it on social media, whatever you do to spread the light. I would really appreciate that. And as always, I'm going to encourage you to remember that the key to magnifying your miracles is to know your miracle is already here, my friend. It is already here. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye-bye.